Everybody, tie your hands together. Look down. Yes, all right. Tie your hands together. Look down and hold your breath.
Who is he to make roosters of us? If the king is coming, so what? Let him come. He is a human being just like us. Why should we clear the way for him and hold our breath? And if we suffocate to death, then what?
That will be very good. Better for a troublemaker like you to die. We'll have less work.
We have no rights here.
Move back! Enemy! Traitor! Men have no rights here. And she talks of herself.
And so, what am I?
You are less than a man. You're a woman. A woman. Guards, catch her and lock her up forever in 4 walls and a veil. Come on, hurry, lock her up in chador and chadivari.
Chadar and Chadivari, it's like a sort of all veiled and covered in your home. That's how they probably see the role of woman in Islamic society. You sort of all covered. Chadar is, you know, all that white sheet which you sort of wrap yourself around with. And Chadivari is the sort of 4 walls of your house.
मशरिक में तो नहीं, मेरा ख्याल है मगरिब में आप कहिए। मगरिब में लोग ये समझते हैं इसलिए कि मगरिब के अंदर औरत को जो इस्लाम।
In the West, people are unaware of the rights Islam gives to women because the opponents of Islam have done a lot of propaganda about the 4 marriages. They have done a lot of propaganda about the veil, that Islam imprisons women within 4 walls. And by the grace of God, they have taken on the whole responsibility of conveying only those aspects which frighten women away from Islam. And I say with much pain that in the West, the position of women is such that when her face is like a flower, there are many who love her. But when her face gets wrinkles, then she is thrown into old homes because there is no one to love her. Even her offspring are not happy to keep her in their homes.
When we wear a very tight dress, then we will show all of our body parts. That all these things take us towards the wrong thinkings. So that's why Islam give the preaching of parda, because woman is not supposed to show anything or any of his part, even face, to any unknown person, so that when he will not see the face or anything, that he will not go or he will not think any wrong thing in his mind.
My wife wears the veil for a few reasons. The main thing is that one adopts whatever one sees in one's parents' home, in one's culture. So you cannot say that all women in Pakistan wear the veil. There are women who dress like in Europe. But if my wife wants to cover herself with a veil, I cannot stop her, because what she has learnt from her mother, her sister, her culture is natural to her.
In the present system, when our society is morally so much corrupted, we don't think it's appropriate that women should go out of their houses and work. But when the society is morally reformed, and then they can go with ease, there is no problem for them, then they will work. We are even in favor of their going to battlefields and taking part in wars. We see that if Islam is really implemented in its real sense in this country, the society will automatically be so much reformed that there will be no such problems in such impediments in the way of improvement and advancement of women in society.
Well, as long as our religion is concerned, the only thing it has ordered is the veil. The veil, I mean, you have to wear your faces. But the other things like staying at home, no rights to vote and things like that, these have been imposed by our men and our women too.
During Zia's period, so much support was given to fundamentalists by the state that it became very difficult for a woman to freely go around in the streets, walk around, express herself.
The man was given the mandate, in a sense, to sort of, object and criticize any woman who did go out alone. People sort of would turn around and point a finger at the woman and say, how dare she be out? What right has she be to out of her house?
Must be something wrong with the woman that she's going out
by
herself. Must be a bad woman, must be something wrong with her.
So over the years, society and the values of that society were sort of consciously changed. And media and everything was used for that.
But it's very interesting that in spite of that, in spite of 10, 11 years of that kind of conditioning, that society elects a woman prime minister. It's interesting, it's amazing.
It has been a long struggle. We had to undergo many periods of internal exile, that is exile from one province of Pakistan to another, periods of arrest, the execution of the elected prime minister, the hanging of our dissidents. But that phase is now over.
Pakistan is a young nation born of the partition of the British Empire in India. While the Mahatma Gandhi opposed the idea of two independent states in India, the 100 million Muslims mobilized under Muhammad Ali Jinnah and the Muslim League struggled for their own independent nation. Violent riots between Hindu and Muslim communities rendered the partition of India unavoidable. Thus, after the long struggle against the British Crown, as India awakened to freedom on the 14th of August 1947, a new nation, Pakistan, the land of the pure, came into being with Muhammad Ali Jinnah as its first Governor-General. Within a few days of partition, the world witnessed the greatest human exodus in history. Over 17 million people abandoned homes, villages and cities to migrate from one country to another. Since the creation of Pakistan, the reins of power have more often than not been held by the military. The latest and longest spell of military rule began in 1977, when General Zia-ul-Haq overthrew the elected government of the charismatic and populist Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. 2 years after the coup, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto is executed by hanging. General Zia announces the indefinite postponement of elections until his mission is accomplished, instituting the Shariat, the code of Islamic law in Pakistan. Benazir, the late Bhutto's eldest daughter, who is elected co-chairman of her father's party, the Pakistan People's Party, will begin her long and courageous struggle for the restoration of democracy in Pakistan. 11.5 years of General Zia's dictatorship, she will endure prison, house arrest, and finally political exile. Her return to Pakistan in April 1986, after 2 years in exile, is a triumph. It takes her more than 12 hours to cross the 15 kilometers from the airport to Lahore. The people of Pakistan are on her side. But it is the sudden death of General Zia in a mysterious plane crash in August 1988 which finally opens the way to general elections. On the one side, there is Benazir Bhutto and the Pakistan People's Party. On the other, there is the Islamic Democratic Alliance, an alliance of 9 parties, some of whom claim that they will prevent by all means the ascendancy of a woman as head of state. Nevertheless, Benazir Bhutto wins the elections and is nominated Prime Minister of Pakistan on the 2nd of December 1988. She is the first woman in modern history to head a Muslim state. Pakistan's latest experiment with democracy has begun.
I'm not really the first Muslim to head a state. There were quite a few Muslim rulers in the early years of Islam between the 7th and the 9th century. My election does reopen the question of the role of women in Islam, reopens the debate, and that, I think, is good. The election indicates that Muslim women may set themselves any targets and achieve them. So in that sense, it's an extremely important development and a historic turning point for them in the modern world.
I think it is a shame for the people of Pakistan that it is the first Muslim country in which a lady is nominated Prime Minister, because it is against the soul of Islam. It is a thing which is totally un-Islamic.
I think it is a miracle that she could ever make it at all, and that she was allowed to come to the position she's in now. But I hope she's judged as a basis as the head of her political party or as head of government, not as a woman. Because if her failures are judged on a basis of being a woman, then all the women of Pakistan are going to pay the price.
We do not want to work under a woman's government because our Islam does not allow it, and because our Prophet, peace be upon him, did not say that we can be ruled by a woman. Our duty is only that democracy is in the country, not that a woman should govern. Only men can be rulers. Men can work only under other men. Benazir? What do I think? Benazir is good. She'll run the government. She can run it. The people have elected her, and that's all. For the next 5 years, we will not say anything because we have elected her.
There has been a change. I do sense it. I guess most of the people sense it. And I guess the most wonderful thing that has happened, that's what I personally feel, that we have a woman who's a prime minister, and she's young.
My opinion is absolutely according to the Quran and the Hadith, the sayings of the Prophet. And it is that a woman cannot be head of state because Islam, in the rights it has given to a woman, has not given her the right, even for a glance, to become a minister, and so she cannot fulfill such a function to the extent that she cannot lead the prayers, and her testimony is worth half of a man's.
Islam
is a practical religion, so it divides the responsibilities. Women should be completely responsible for the home, and the outside responsibilities should be taken by men, so that neither the home nor the state shall be neglected.
We don't have an Islamic system, right? If we did, then we ourselves would have objected to Benazir, because based on the Shariat, the code of Islamic law, she cannot rule the country. But it is in the constitution that Benazir can govern.
Pakistan is a highly politicized nation. We came into being as a consequence of a political struggle. Therefore, that hardcore of political thought and awakening existed. Subsequently, there have been dictatorships, but they have always met with the resistance of the people. It's a simple question. If you're hungry, that hurts. If you don't have a house, if you're frustrated, you're unemployed, that hurts. And that is the essence of politicization. It enables people to be receptive to ideas. BBC or the radio has also transformed the world because it enables people who cannot read to listen and to be aware of what is going on. The rate of literacy in Pakistan is low, but the political consciousness is extremely high. You may discuss constitutional issues with taxi drivers. They'll give you their view. They may not be able to read, but they have firm views. And that in itself is the most promising aspect of democracy in a complex third world country attempting to reach the modern world.
We hear of the basic comforts in the rest of the country, which now we have also seen with our own eyes, heard with our own ears. We had never seen these before. We want these things now. First, water supply. Second, schools. Third, hospitals. We need schools and hospitals for all these children. These comforts will come from the government, from the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Then we will distribute to our people.
Benazir is our ruler. We are poor people. We are poor. We live here with our poor comforts and our pain. We are poor. Tell her to bring comforts here. Provide comforts in the village. Ease the pain.
जमहूरियत डिक्टेटरशिप से बहुत अच्छा है
Democracy is much better than dictatorship. Democracy is the government of the representatives of the people, and whomever people vote for is best for them, because they are answerable to the people. We are for Benazir because she is a Democrat, and we thought it better for our future generations because she can solve our problems, because we are rural people. We are living like in the period before Christ. We have no basic living amenities here.
Islam does not allow dictatorship, one man's rule. Islam does not allow. Islam believes in shurayat system, in many men and many people government. Democracy is really very close to Islam, but dictatorship is not so close.
Right now, I don't understand any of these ideas. I don't understand these games. Sometimes it is of Islam, sometimes of democracy. I don't understand.
Democracy is a very big responsibility of a nation. A country which has no democracy has no merit. To us it means freedom. Everybody is free to sit, walk, see his relatives, do anything as he wants. This is our idea of democracy.
The protection of freedom. That for me is the most important task for people to be free. Without freedom, you cannot achieve anything. It's that sense of the individual, the worth of the individual, the ability of the individual, and the confidence of the individual to make a life for themselves. Because as I see it, Pakistanis have not had the opportunity to choose their lives or to fashion their lives. They have had no choices. They've been forced to make the best of the worst, or even to hope that the worst may throw a crumb their way.
As far as seeing a pretty face on TV is concerned, it's wonderful, but I don't see how it can change the thinking of an average Pakistani.
On the contrary, I think it'd give men a chance to realize what Eastern women are capable of.
Well, they've always had the women at home, but they never really, it doesn't make a difference. I don't see how it can ever change.
They weren't given any chance there. This is the first time they're being given a chance.
5 years of having a woman in power is not going to change centuries of thinking of the Pakistani
It might change something. It might be a beginning.
Great battle for women, I would say. I mean, in fact, it's quite an interesting thing for a student of sociology to see how do the women of Pakistan battle for their position, for their status. I mean, they won round one, so to speak, with Benazir being in power, of course. A woman being in power.
The main drawback are the traditional and the social, where she needs a little bit of push and coming forward. Like the realities are, I'll give you an example, like if you take the statistics, we have 28% primary school for girls and 72 for boys. Now this figure speaks a lot, the reason why women are behind. Education is a must.
The family disapproved a lot about our education because they said that this was the question they told my mother. What are you going to make out of these girls once they go to school? What do you want them to do? What would be the profession? Nobody would accept your daughters in marriage.
in the family if they are educated.
Some of us are going to be doctors, some lawyers, some Benazirs, some kings.
Oh yes, there is tremendous change. By the grace of God, today in the Peshawar University, 20 to 25% of our girls form the student community. You will be delighted to know that all the top positions are obtained by them.
Results on the 4 into 100 meters.
We are very happy with them. As a matter of fact, the other day in a convocation, I told the boys, gentlemen, prepare yourself for kitchen work because you will be engaged in the kitchen work in due course, and females are going to take the responsibilities of running the government and managing the affairs of the state. And Miss Bhutto is really Benazir Bhutto is the model for that.
It is true that women of Pakistan see in my success their own success, sense of achievement and a sense of hope. I have discussed this matter with my colleagues. We have released a commission into the problems of women, and in the light of the public discussion, we will take measures both in terms of legislation and in terms of economic opportunities to enable women to make choices in their own lives.
We ladies, we come to our job, and when we go back home late, people, say all sorts of things against us. People raise their finger that a young girl shouldn't go out, this and that. But we want to work. Now there is Benazir. She too is working. She has a family. She goes out. She's managing such a big country. Now other ladies will focus on her and do the same.
As far as my daughter's working is concerned, I don't want to impose my ideas on them, but as long as I am there, I do not want my daughters to work, so that I should sit back. When they get married, their husbands and their families will decide if they can work or not.
It is a man-dominated society, and so that prevails in a society which is liked by men, not by ladies. If a girl goes out somewhere, when she comes back home, she is to be scolded. If a boy goes out, there's nothing wrong with it. So I think it's a man-dominated society. Men are very dominating and possessive and aggressive, everything you can say. They are bad. They are very bad.
I agree with my friends since living in the frontier, and I have brothers and father too, and I think they are a little bit narrow-minded, going out without having a chadar on the head especially, and I think that's not good. They should be liberal, allow us to show our expression. Otherwise, because if you are not allowed to show expression, you become more rude and more in a wrong way.
I think that broadly speaking, the overwhelming majority of Pakistani Musliman fathers, brothers, husbands, sons assume that it is their role to protect their wife or their sister or their mother or their daughter, and this context of protection is very, very large. That is to say, from the woman's point of view, it may well translate into her basic rights of choice being usurped by her father or her brother or her husband or her son.
I personally think they're not as broad-minded as they should be, and they don't give women equal status, which is very important in a democracy.
Well, I feel that they are not to blame for that, because it is engendered by their background, their upbringing, the religion, everything. And I don't think men should be blamed for that.
Well, I still want somebody to open the door for me and pull the chair. I'm not going to get away from that. I want that. I'm not.
Talking about women's liberty, right? I mean, do you give women liberty, I mean, to walk around, to do things, to organize themselves, right? I mean, is this liberty which you, I mean...
Just being respectful doesn't mean they're being given their due status.
But no matter how you've been brought up, I think this is the Pakistani men's, I think it's the South Asian mentality rather.
This is a question which is tied very deeply in each country's culture. Traditions over a period of time do change and give way to more traditions. Today, if we talk about attitudes, one can see that there are similar attitudes in different parts of the world. So in a sense, the world is getting closer together and making a world where similar values exist. If I can name some, the need for freedom, the need for dignity.
What is the case against you?
Adultery case.
And what is an adultery case?
My in-law said our son here is younger. She married him. For this, they made an adultery case against me because we got married without their consent.
And you, when were you arrested?
It has been a year and 6 months.
And when was this child born?
He was born at Bakra Eid.
Was he born here in jail?
Yes, he was born in jail.
And you? Tell us your story. What happened?
My husband died. Then I thought I need a supporter. Eventually, there was a supporter, but the man became proud and would not marry me. So my mother made a case against me and sent me to jail. On the 4th of December 1985, we went to court and got married. Then my parents made a kidnapping case against me. About a year and a half before me, they took revenge on him. He stayed in jail about 7 months and 11 days. Then I got him bailed. So now it has been about 6 months that my parents have had me arrested. So I'm also pregnant.
In February 1979, General Zia-ul-Haq promulgated the Hudud ordinances. The word Hudud means punishments prescribed in the Quran. These punishments relate to aggravated forms of theft, to adultery, and offenses similar to adultery. The penalty for theft is amputation, and the penalty for adultery, in the case of Muslims, is stoning to death, and for non-Muslims, it is whipping, 100 stripes of the whip.
The results of bad deeds are very much harsher than its punishments. And as an example, look at the whole society of the West, where bad deeds are not considered a sin. That society is shaken by the results, and there is no cure in sight.
I think most sections of societies do not even consider the present hudud ordinances to be in the spirit of Islam, which was a religion of dignity. Certainly you can have deterrent, but there are ways of deterrent. But yet I would say that in a country making a transition, there is a polarization, and we at the moment don't wish to accentuate polarization. And we want to balance not accentuating polarization with giving women a sense of protection. We'll do that. We are doing that.
What do they call kidnapping? Kidnapping is not of a small child who is 2 or 4 days old so that it can be kidnapped. Obviously, both people must love each other to run away to get married, and getting married cannot be called kidnapping. Whoever gets married, whoever has proof, has an Islamic marriage certificate, a witness, how can they call it a kidnapping? It is not a crime. It is true it is a crime when one kidnaps someone else, but what is this that 2 people, a boy and a girl, they get married, so this is made into a kidnapping case?
General Zia used Islam cynically for political exploitation. The laws he brought about, which were discriminatory, do not have the sanctity of either the Constitution or the new government. It is true that the fundamentalists are at present strong in certain areas because they have been in power for 11.5 years. So it is best that we proceed cautiously and build up a national consensus to revert back to the values enshrined in the Constitution, which is no discrimination against anyone on the basis of sex. We, during our government, do not expect to see any harsh sentences carried out, but we also feel that it is important to build a national consensus to ensure that no future government either allows such harsh sentences.
You see, there are 72 sects in Islam, 72 or 74, and very few of them think that the hudud ordinances are really Islamic. Many of these sects believe in a more humane and rational form of Islam. They feel that ordinances like the hudud ordinances violate the humanity which is in Islam and the belief in brotherhood and equality which is a part of Islam, which is a part of the spirit of Islam. I believe that they were imposed because it was a political ploy to make people frightened, to terrorize people, to oppress people, so that they should not ask for their democratic rights.
When a woman has become head of state, justice should be done. At least women should be given the freedom to be adults. They should be able to marry according to their own wishes. Marrying is no crime. It is not called kidnapping.
This government can set the first phase for a prolonged period of democracy. And as democracy unveils itself and envelops a whole generation, then the values of democracy will spread. One of the values of democracy is justice, justice for all. Today, there is no justice for all.
कपड़ा ना चुको एक मिनट कपड़े दे नाल कपड़ा थल्ले रख के
औरतों के लिए नहीं, सबके लिए.
Not only for women, she's good for all, women, men, for everybody, for our country.
कि मुझे इसे
Me, I'm not so interested in politics. If you don't mind, ask me about my work.
आज सीने में भड़कती है जब खून की प्यास, एक बगोले की तरह रक्स को जी चाहता है.
Before General Zia came into power, there used to be lots of dance performances, dance dramas, ballets. But when he came, what he actually did was officially ban dancing on stage by women. So one couldn't have a public performance of dance. And besides that, it was only allowed as a cultural evening. And even for that, one had to go and get a NOC, which is a no objection certificate. And in the NOC it said that dancing, obscenity and nudity, these three things were always put together in the no objection certificate.
So that the dance, obscenity and nudity not allowed.
Not allowed. So these things, sort of three
bracketed
things were
together.
The same as far as General Zia's regime were concerned.
Actually, it is written in Quran that music is bad and it is forbidden for the Muslims, music, because music is an initial thing. It is an initial thing in sexuality, in devilship, and all these things which man, by listening music, man loses his temper, his mentality, and he goes away from his real life.
Only that music which, for example, in the times of holy wars or at such sort of things, there was drum. Drum was at that time beaten. And that is not, I think, un-Islamic because it inspires a person to become more bold, to become much involved in the fighting. But in fine arts, there is painting of flowers, painting of trees, painting of scenes. That is not un-Islamic. Poetry is not totally un-Islamic. Aesthetic sort of poetry is un Islamic. There is this sense in Islam. But if that exceeds the limits and that leads toward the corrupted sort of arts or fine arts or these sorts of things, then it is un-Islamic.
The scare of that you can't do this, you can't do that, then you can't really work with that kind of freedom. You can't take that, you can't really enlighten, you can't do a serious piece of work. Now we would like to go out and work in the villages and do all kinds of plays for them and bring about maximum that we can and entertain them. I like a lot of happiness. I like people to laugh. I like them to enjoy. And again, Zia's time, you know, made people morose. You know, you look at their faces, you know, they're all, as they're preparing for death, you know, and hereafter.
हम पाकिस्तान में ये चाहते हैं कि एटलीस्ट यहाँ पर जो है शरीयत की जो
We want at least for Pakistan that the Shariat, the code of Islamic law, be implemented, and there should be a head of state capable of enforcing the order of the Shariat, and by doing so, he should govern Pakistan while implementing the code of Islamic law.
I am completely against it. Why am I against it? Because the more you compel something, the more people will resist it. So there is no compulsion in Islam. This is clearly stated. There is no compulsion in Islam. Whether I say my prayers or not, my father or my husband can educate me, can tell me. It is their duty to tell me, to inform me that I should follow my religion, say my prayers, I should fast, but they cannot compel me. So Zia al-Haq compelled a lot. That is why our youth is turning away from Islam.
I think religion is personal. And as it has, you know, people have tried to enforce it over the past 11 years, I don't think that's a way to practice religion.
No, I totally agree. Religion is a very personal matter.
Being asked if you pray or if you fast, it's offensive.
No matter what the religion, I think religion at home and politics on the street. We should be, you know, we should have a personal religion of our own, whatever it may be.
Well, if we have religion and politics, you know, what we are seeing is that, I mean, the mullahs are doing politics, and, I mean, the poets are doing politics. Everybody is doing politics in Pakistan.
And the politics and religion, it should not be mixed together. I mean, they are two different things. And that government religion cannot be imposed. It's up to you if you do it or not.
Oh, but don't you think that bringing religion into politics is justified because the very basis of our country was Islam? It was founded to exploit it.
What happened was that at the right inception, at the birth of Pakistan, even Quaid-e-Azam had said that Pakistan is going to be, you know, a place where the Hindus will cease to be Hindus, the Muslims will cease to be Muslims, not in the religious sense, but in the sect, you know, in the sense of the sect. We will have a peculiar state in which we can give tolerance to everybody. And that is what democracy wants. Democracy wants tolerance.
There is a Islam of dictators, and there is Islam of democrats. It depends on how one views Islam. For us Muslims, our religion is important. We do not see in religion a contradiction with the modern world or new techniques. For us, Islam is a religion of compassion. It's a dynamic religion, and therefore it can take us and help us evolve the right values for the 21st century. Islam came as a religion of liberation, but one would not know that today, listening to some of the experts on it. What I'm trying to say is, we have our own view of Islam as a religion of compassion and as a religion of peace, and I hope that Pakistan has the opportunity of showing the other face of Islam.